Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harrison. Each week, I'm joined by husky, hairy, huggable homos who love film to talk a little bit of movie news and review a film either current or classic. As usual, this week, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Jim Puliafco, is here with us. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Brad. And yes, this is Jim, and this is the sound of my voice. Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Is that your new thing? That's 2 weeks in a row.
I only do it because I know I'll get a rise out of you.
You do like to get a rise out of me.
Hey now.
On the show sometimes. You just heard his voice as well. Will Lindis is here too. Welcome, Will.
Hey there, movie fans. So glad to be back with you again this week.
We are also super, super jazzed to welcome back long-time friend of the show and someone who hosts a pretty damn fucking awesome insert other expletive because he was asking if we can swear on the show. Yes, we can swear on the show. Effing do it. Bill Zanowitz from the Comic Book Bears podcast is here with us. Welcome, Bill. So good to see you.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me on again. Love doing this.
Oh, we are so pumped to have you here. And
Our
of
pleasure.
course,
Oh, yeah.
Of course, what better reason to have you back than to talk about DC's newest outing, Suicide Squad. Bill, we got to check out that fucking awesome t-shirt you're wearing.
Yeah. I was very scared to go down the pop vinyl route because I know myself. And I resisted for a long time, but then when DC started their collector boxes, I was sunk. So I did start with those guys, and the last month's box was the Suicide Squad box. So this is the pop vinyl shirt with Deadshot and Harley and Joker and Katana and Rick Flag, and so I dressed the part tonight.
That is freaking awesome. That is so great. I love it. Well, we are pumped to talk about Suicide Squad with you, Bill. I think it's going to be a fun conversation. As our resident comic ambassador from your incredibly awesome show, it'll be interesting to hear some of your thoughts. And Will, I know you're kind of our local comic book expert, so Jim and I are just going to sit in the background and play mahjong or something while you guys chat.
On this subject, I absolutely defer to Bill's expertise. I started Suicide Squad in 2011. I have no super deep history with it, so I'll be interested in learning a little bit more through this podcast as well.
Oh, for sure.
No pressure, Bill. It's all you.
No pressure at all.
Oh, goodness. Well, before we get to Suicide Squad, we actually are going to catch up a little bit with a holdover from last week, and we also are going to dish up a bit of movie news as well, so lots to talk about. Last week, we were going through our list for our top 10 films of the 21st century so far, and we invited some listeners at the end of the show to write in with some of their lists. So we're going to share some of that with you guys. Bill, you actually wrote into the show, and since you're here anyway, you might as well share your list with us. So what are your picks?
Well, I have to say, I have so much admiration for you guys because I would have found it impossible to narrow it down to 10 because if you look back, I mean, there have been so many exemplary movies that have come out in the last 15 and a half years. They really have. When you just look at the movies that you guys mentioned and that some of the other fans of your show mentioned, it was like, oh, yeah, there's that. Oh, yeah, there's that. I did come up with 7 that I think would definitely be there. My number 1 would be Zodiac, because I think the test of a truly effective film is if it transports you. And for me, when I stepped out of that movie theater, I fully expected to see Cars from 1981. It totally took me to another place, and it was so well crafted a movie that I cannot see anything knocking it off the perch of this century until of anything that's been released so far. Other films that I would rank very highly would be Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which I know was mentioned on the show as well, Far From Heaven, Best in Show, which I was surprised that there wasn't any Christopher Guest representation there. just because, and I do believe Huffman would have been the '90s, right? Guffman would have been '90s, right?
Right. I don't remember
I
exactly.
think so.
Yeah.
I definitely know Spinal Tap was before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else did I say? Oh my God.
It's on here.
A very recent film. A very recent film that I have to say I think will stand the test of time is Everybody Wants Some.
Yeah.
Because that was me literally looking at the older guys in high school. When I was in junior high, seeing what they were like in the very early '80s, and it just, it captured the sense of that particular time period so well. And what I think is just, apart from Altman, I don't think anybody else does that vignette stuff effectively. I just thought it was an exceptional film, and I just have to take a look and see what else I said because I'm blanking right now. I can't.
Here it is. Let me see.
Okay.
A History of Violence.
Oh, History of Violence, yes.
Uh-huh.
And also Children of Men, which I think was either mentioned by somebody as a favorite or an almost there.
I think it was something I also ran. Yeah.
If I had to fill out the rest, it would be a very tough prospect, and the majority of films I actually watch right now are documentaries. Because of the cheapness isn't the right, but how inexpensive it is relatively to make movies. That we are in this golden age of documentaries. Films that never could have been made are being made. And I made this really quick list of documentaries that have come out in the last 15 and a half years, and this was just off the top of my head. So some of these might be in my 3: The Source Family, Jonestown, The Life and Death of People's Temple, A Band Called Death, Finding Vivian Maier, Standing in the Shadows of Motown, Jesus Camp, Deliver Us from Evil, Going Clear, Gasland, Young at Heart, and since it had the 2-day theatrical run, OJ Made in America, it really is an amazing time for documentaries, and I would definitely at some point, if I had to make the 10, would be represented somewhere with those films.
Yeah, I mean, documentaries are one of my favorite categories of movies too, especially now. And some of my favorites are documentaries that made the list. And have we? I think we did a documentary list, did we, or didn't we?
We haven't done a documentary list. I feel like that might be a good topic for us to mine sometime soon.
We talked documentaries at one point. I don't know that it was like a top 10 list.
We probably didn't do a top 10. Yeah.
Yeah. But
we've talked about several documentaries on the show. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's always a few making our list. I mean, even the Oppenheimer films from the last couple of years, Act of Killing and The Look of Silence. You're absolutely right. This is a really good time for docs.
Indeed. All right. Well, some great films on your list, Bill. Awesome stuff. Let's hear from some of our other listeners. Jim, I think you have some to share.
Yeah. A friend of the show and fellow podcaster, Bill Harris, who lives in Canada, I think. He's like, I'm going to mention him later too, but he's a voracious movie watcher. Like, I think we see a lot of movies, but he sees probably 3 to 4 times how many movies we see, and I don't know how he does it. But I'm just going to read off his list. So he gave us 13 movies, so I'm just going to run right through them. Irreversible, Cache, which may come up later in the show, The Best of Youth, Son of Saul from last year, Boyhood, A Prophet, Elephant, the Gus Van Sant movie, which is in my honorable mentions, Untitled, Almost Famous Director's Cut, which I haven't seen, so I guess we got to get on that since Almost Famous was right up there on our list. Amelie, In the Mood for Love, which I think is a Wong Kar-wai film, if I'm not mistaken. The New World, Primer, Upstream, Color, and that's 2 movies actually. And number 1, he says, is a no-brainer, is the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Very long title. I plugged that movie earlier, maybe last year on the show. I caught up with it. Great movie, and a good pick for number 1. So that's Bill's list. And he's seen, like I said, he's seen a ton of movies. So
Oh, yeah.
I like, and he also had the on their show Green Screen of Death. They also had the a movie club where Bill would bring in some usually obscure movie that he thinks should be seen and kind of challenges the listeners. I know, Will, you've participated. I've participated in watching some of those and giving those guys feedback. So thanks, Bill, for the list. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Good to hear from you. Also, a great list. It's interesting. I love obviously talking to you guys and hearing your thoughts, but I think sometimes we're so in tune with each other that a lot of the films that we picked were like not surprises, right? We're like, oh, yeah, Will's gonna pick that one. Oh, I know Jim's gonna pick that one. So it's so neat to kind of listen, just to some of these picks from our listeners, because it's like new films that maybe we hadn't even thought of putting on that list. So. Awesome stuff. Will, I think you've got a list to share as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, one of our listeners, Cody Warner, submitted a list, and his isn't 10. It's just kind of a mixed match, but some good films here. He lists No Country for Old Men, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He lists 1, 2, and 3, all three of them. 12 Years a Slave, The Revenant, Dallas Buyers Club, and Brad, I think you'll like this one. He also lists Wild, which I know made the top of your list.
Cody Warner is now my new best friend. Cody.
Yeah. Love that movie. Another good list.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some great picks. So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for suggestions on movies to check out when you're not, like, at bear pool parties this summer and need to get out of the heat and watch something indoors, check out our Top 10 Films of the 21st Century episode, and check out some of the films that have mentioned in these lists, including Bill Zanowitz and his picks.
And Bill, thanks to you, and thanks to those other folks, too.
Absolutely.
For participating and just kind of joining in the discussion, and we, like I said, we love to talk movies, so it's all good. We love to hear from everybody.
That was the most fun part of it for me. Like, I enjoyed us talking about it. It was a fun show, all of that. But just seeing the feedback that kind of came in during the show and afterwards, for me, it was a lot of fun just kind of seeing all those lists and going like, I forgot about that one, or holy crap, I didn't see that one, guys. I got to put that in my queue. So this was a lot of fun.
Oh, yes, definitely. All right, well, guys, we got some movie news to discuss. How are we feeling about that? Is it time?
There's some newsy stuff going on out there.
All right, then, here we go. Some movie news. All right, so I will kick things off this week. Guys, I'm so pumped. Oh, my God, I can't even tell you how pumped I am for the 30th anniversary remaster release of Transformers the movie on Blu-ray, coming out on September 13th. This news just broke a couple hours ago. I read it on IGN. IGN, thank you. I love this movie so much. I'm not talking about, the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Spit on them. I'm talking about the brilliance that was the movie from the 80s where, Transformers died, and there was all kinds of crazy stuff that happened. I'm very jazzed about this. I watched the trailer for the re-release. I can't believe how wonderful the animation in the film looks. I mean, it's just freaking gorgeous. Has anybody else seen the trailer for the release yet? No?
Not the trailer, but I'm seeing a few. I've got some diehard Transformer friends who are going ape shit in the best way possible on Facebook right now. Like, a lot of people are really happy right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I tell you, this is a movie that I revisit often. I mean, I bought the 20th anniversary DVD that came out, 10 years ago. I made Jim watch it with me a couple years ago. That's maybe why he's rolling his eyes right now.
No, I'm rolling my eyes because we're not supposed to keep the things we love from each other, Brad. And you have not shown me this trailer yet.
I just found out about it. I was working. What do you expect?
I need popcorn for this one.
Oh goodness! Get out
we'll watch it tonight.
Get out your Michael Jackson eating popcorn meme pictures because it's going down. But anyway, there's just so much that I love about this movie. I could talk about it forever. Leonard Nimoy, was a voice in this film, Orson Welles. This is the introduction of Unicron, the big planet-destroying, planet-eating, planet robot thing. My favorite song, and the only song I know by Stan Bush, The Touch. You got the touch. And one of my favorite Transformers ever, actually, Rodimus Prime, who his pre-Prime incarnation, Hot Rod, is apparently going to be in Transformers: The Last Night. Just read about that as well.
So that's the Michael Bay movie, right?
That's the Michael Bay movie, and I got excited about that too. I'm like, oh my gosh, Hot Rod! I love Hot Rod. And then I looked at the picture, and I can't even tell it's supposed to be Hot Rod. And I'm like,
thank you, Michael Bay.
Anyway, so I'm pumped. I'm jazzed. That's my mood-oos.
Yeah, is that put out by Shout Factory? Do you know who's doing that? The re-release?
That's a good question. Let me try and find out.
Because they've been doing some really good stuff. They're kind of like the more pop culture-y Criterion at this point with some of their really high-quality reissues.
It is Shout Factory. Yeah, it is.
Cool. Yeah, so it's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be good.
Sounds like
also, my favorite. Yeah, my favorite character actor of all time is one of the voices in that movie.
Judd Nelson?
Close. Roger C. Carmel.
Oh.
Yeah, Cyclonus in that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Will, ha 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 ha. I saw that. Yeah, you should read that out loud because it was intentional.
Yeah, you said I'm jazzed, and immediately I'm thinking of the Transformer jazz, and I'm hoping like, oh please, Brad, let that be an intentional pun. It was really good.
I drop some subtle puns in now and then. You guys don't always get them, but like I make some little notes. I work hard.
Oh, that's like.
He works on his pun game.
Are you the hipster of puns?
Oh, goodness. Anyway, Transformers the movie is releasing on Blu-ray in glorious 4K remastered transfer brilliance on September 13th. Check it out. Jim, what have you got this week?
Oh, I'm looking forward to the holidays now. I wasn't really looking forward to the end of summer and the holidays very much.
In fact, last night you said fuck Christmas. Those were your exact words.
What was that in reference to?
Oh my God! Like I don't care what that's referencing to. You just said
fuck
Christmas.
What it was.
Like
was it...
that makes inner child Will is really sad right now.
I forget what it was in reference to.
We were talking to Joe from Phoenix about how quickly the summer was going, how fast the holidays were going to be here, and you said, "Oh, fuck Christmas."
Oh, it was about stores that already had Christmas trees up. That's what got me started. Come on, does that not piss everybody off? Kind of. Well, I guess if you really love Christmas, I guess you want it Christmas all the time. We have friends that want it to be Halloween all the time, so whatever.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah. Anyway, but this Christmas is going to be better because Bad Santa 2 is finally coming out, which I think I'm looking forward to. I love the first Bad Santa. We've counted down Christmas holiday movies before. Bad Santa is either at or near the top of my list. So now they're making another one. I just love the sharp, raunchy humor style mixed with really wacky characters and also some heart laid on top of that. So that's what we got out of Bad Santa. I think we're going to get the same thing in the second one. The cast is back mostly. Billy Bob Thornton is coming back as Willie Santa. Tony Cox is back as Marcus, his assistant and elf, primary elf. Brent Kelly, Thurman Merman, the kid, is actually back. They pulled him out of college for this movie. He hadn't. He'd done one other movie called Unaccompanied Minors, back like right after Bad Santa. He's just going to basically be an adult version of the kid when he comes back, of course.
You want some sandwiches, Santa?
Want some sandwiches? Yeah. See you laugh. It's funny. All right, and then they're going to bring in Kathy Bates to star as Willie's mom. So, and Christina Hendricks is in this one from Mad Men. So I think it's, who knows? It could suck, but I'm kind of excited for it. A new Red Band trailer is hitting, a new Not Safe for Work trailer is hitting the streets this week. So I'm expected to, I'm expecting to watch that one and look for that one when it comes out. I think it comes out as we're recording this. It's coming out tomorrow, so should already be out by the time the show is put out on the podcast apps and whatnot. Also, I heard Billy Bob Thornton is coming out with a new Amazon original series on Amazon called Goliath, which he plays not an alcoholic Santa, but an alcoholic lawyer who's looking for redemption in a new case. It's co-created by the team that brought Boston Legal, The Practice. David E. Kelly is involved with this one. So, so this one could be pretty interesting too. We'll have to see what that is, but maybe you guys will end up talking about it on the MBP TV show. So yeah, there you go. Bad Santa. I'm gonna start looking for it because I love that movie.
Awesome. I'm really excited to hear that this is like finally coming together, because I know it's been something that's been talked about for a really long time, and we're getting bits and pieces of news out of it, but finally we're getting like a release date and trailers. I hadn't actually seen the original film till I met you. Well, actually that's not entirely true. I saw part of the film a while back, and I never got to finish it. And then Jim, you were like, "Oh my gosh, you haven't seen the whole thing? We gotta watch it." And now it's one of my favorite holiday movies, and it's totally not like a Hallmark holiday movie that makes you feel all warm and
exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah, November 23rd.
All right, there you go. Will, what's on your radar this week?
So if we're talking about Christmas, let's talk about something that's a little more Halloween themed. The news broke just a few hours ago that they are doing Hollywood in general, is doing they are doing a new remake or reboot of the franchise for Friday the 13th.
Again?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a film this is a series that had I want to say it was like 11 films. Then it did in 2009. It had 1 or 2 films as part of the new reboot, and now it's got its brand newest reboot. And normally that would be a big red flag for me. Just like, okay, yeah, like this thing didn't even make it a decade before they had to reboot it again. That said, there's really not much to the formula for a Friday the 13th movie. It's just get horny teenagers, get a guy in a hockey mask with machetes, and, hit play. It's pretty much that simple. So compared to all of the other reboots out there, I think this one is almost a little bit like idiot-proof in a lot of ways. Like, even a bad Friday the 13th movie is still going to be entertaining for its fan base. So I'm cautiously interested. This is a film that's coming out. I know they just announced it, but they said it's due out next year, so we're going to be seeing this thing in 2017.
The Wes Anderson Friday the 13th?
I would watch that too.
Nice. Well, it'll be interesting to see what Monolithic do with it, because I was not that enthralled by the last reboot that we just had, several years ago. So hopefully this will be better. Maybe it's been enough time to circle back, I hope. Because I enjoyed the original series. They got a little crazy after 4, but it was good overall.
That's part of why I think the revival isn't necessarily too bad an idea for him. I don't think there were a lot of people that were super big into the new franchise that came out. So I don't think they're really losing any fans. I don't think they're really losing anything by starting over. This director that's on deck, or at least being talked about, is this dude named Breck Eisner. He's the guy that did The Crazies a few years ago and The Last Witch Hunter from last year. There's a few things here that kind of give promise. Make a Jason movie, I'll go see it. So I'm already on board.
Hey, if he can direct a Vin Diesel movie, he can direct a Friday the 13th movie, right?
The Last Witch Hunter, was that Jeremy Renner? No?
Was that Hansel and Gretel?
You're thinking of Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, it was like this one was a Vin Diesel.
It was
movie.
Vin Diesel.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
With like a sword, and it
All
was
right.
like killing witches and looking dope while doing it.
Gotcha. I was just
Pretty
thinking,
much.
wow, they let that guy direct another movie.
Oh man! All right, well, good stuff, Will and Bill. Close us out for movie news. What's going on for you?
Okay, well, last night I went to see Paul McCartney in concert, so I'm
Wow.
totally in that Beatles frame of mind right now. So that adds to the excitement about Ron Howard's upcoming documentary, The Beatles 8 Days a Week, which covers specifically the touring years. And Hulu is going to be the plan for the film is there's going to be a one night theatrical release followed by its streaming on Hulu. And it was announced today that this is actually the first of a series of films that Hulu are bannering under the Limelight documentary initiative. And the list of films that they have really sounds interesting. There's Batman and Bill, which is about Bill Finger, who was the co-creator of Batman but was never credited for co-creation until late last year. So there's going to be a lot about the behind the scenes about that. Obey Giant, which is about the creation of the Obama Hope poster and the subsequent controversies and parodies that generated from that. There's a film called Too Funny to Fail, which is about the Dana Carvey series in the mid-90s. And this particular series, when you look at the pedigree of people who were involved both on screen and behind the scenes, you had Stephen Colbert, Steve Carell, Charlie Kaufman, Louis C.K., and this thing bombed like you wouldn't believe. So that should be a pretty interesting tale. And the one I'm actually the most excited about is something called Beyond Bond, which is a documentary about George Lazenby. George was the caretaker for the Bond character for one film. Which was on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And for me, that always was a massively underrated film. And I'm really happy to see, with the Soderbergh's essay and some other voices out there that it's kind of getting its due now, and specifically deals with the man who had nearly impossible shoes to fill, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and that's on Hulu, right? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hulu.
it sounds like a great series. Back to the Beatles thing. I watched the trailer for that, and it looks really cool. But have you seen the remastered 8 Days a Week that just came out? Was that the one movie that just came out? Or Hard Day's Night? I'm sorry.
Hard Day's Night. Yes.
I haven't seen that. That one looked fantastic. I mean, the way that they remastered that, and I was watching the trailer for the Ron Howard documentary, and I mean, it looked really great, and it was the early years, which I'm kind of more drawn to, I think, than after. I think it's called the touring years or something like that.
Yeah, because they 1966 they stopped as a touring unit.
Yeah.
So you have that whole period between Sgt. Pepper's and whether you consider Abbey Road or Let It Be first, the last in the order. Those songs were never played live until Paul got hold of them, starting in '89, pretty much. So,
right.
So it specifically deals with the early times while they were a live unit.
Cool, really cool. Good
awesome.
lineup.
Can't wait to check it out. Although, for those of you who are used to streaming Hulu free, sad news on that front today as well.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. But
isn't Hulu
want to be Netflix? What can you do?
So please remind us again which service that we pay for when we get their premium still gives us commercials. Which one
that
is
would
that?
be Hulu.
Fuck you, CBS All Access.
Yeah, you can pay for more, I think, and get like the no commercial version of Hulu or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it is like you get commercials with Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hulu, right. At least you can pay for Hulu, like a no ad version, but also pay for CBS All Access because I love watching old Survivor, and the new Star Trek series is coming out on it. And even though you pay $5 a month or whatever, there's still commercials, and there's no option to pay for no ads. So
they hold you ransom through that ad for Dawn soap or whatever it is.
Yeah, a la carte cable TV is what it is.
Yeah, all I know is if I have to watch one more fucking commercial about pneumococcal pneumonia with the guy from Wings, I'm done, guys. I'm done. Out.
That's when Brad taps out.
He's like, well, everyone's at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia if you're over the age of 55. You're getting older. Ha 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 ha. Worst.
I know the commercial. I hate it too.
Yeah, it's terrible. Anyway, awesome stuff coming down the pipeline. I love movie news. I'm really glad when we get a chance to kind of catch up on some of that, because sometimes, like last week, right, we had all these great movie lists, but there were all these things we wanted to talk about. So movie news, sometimes you have to take a back seat, but it's great when you get to ride up front again. Welcome back. Anyway, so guys, we have a movie to review. What say we? Is it that time?
Does it have to be?
Let's do it.
Yes. No, let's do it. Let's do it.
What? Are you tipping your hand, Will? Like,
Not at all.
Don't show your cards.
No, keep them close to vest.
wow. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an interesting discussion. All right. Well, for those of you who may be new to our format, we are going to talk about Suicide Squad spoiler-free for probably 15 or 20 minutes or so, just to give you our initial thoughts on the film, whether it's worth checking out while it's in theaters, maybe waiting for rental, or skipping it entirely. And then we'll give you pretty a fair warning before we go to spoiler territory. But that said, here we go, our discussion of Suicide Squad. Ah. All right, so Will, why don't you kick things off? Give us your initial thoughts on whether this one's worth checking out.
All right. So Suicide Squad. This is the latest film from the DC Cinematic Universe, and following in the heels of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. In this one, Suicide Squad, you get the bad guys who are allowed to take center stage. All of these different villains have been incarcerated for all of these different crimes. And they've been recruited into this covert special missions team led by this clandestine government agency. And it's up to them to save the day or just, ruin it again. That's what you get with villains. So this one's already a little infamous right now on the internet in terms of, everybody has weighed in on this movie. One of the most divisive films I've seen, at least in terms of social media recently. For me personally, I didn't really like Suicide Squad. Not like worst movie ever territory or anything like hyperbolic like that. But I totally get where a lot of the negative criticism for this movie comes from because I share it. This movie has a very, very, very choppy story. I think if I were to say that there was one thing that really suffered for me, the plot of this movie is really slapdash. There's two characters in particular, Deadshot and Harley Quinn, who get multiple intros. They carry so much of the screen time. And then other characters who literally just walk into scenes and are like, hey, I'm on the team now, just out of nowhere. That's not good writing. That's bad writing. I don't care how good the characters are. That's bad writing. And if for an ensemble you want to see the weight more evenly distributed amongst the characters, you're always going to have some marquee characters carrying a little bit more, but damn, this was lopsided. Tone was all over the place. Parts of it still had that kind of that grimdark thing, which I personally didn't enjoy as much about some of the previous films. You can tell there were some points where it was very well publicized. They did some reshoots for this film to add some more comedy on the heels of Batman v Superman. Some of the humor felt very forced, very disjointed. Some of the pop music that was injected into it felt like it was just trying to spackle over some of the holes instead of adding to the scenes. It's like the Sound Guy Spotify playlist just kind of leaked into the sound mix. I said, fuck it, people like it. They like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? We'll talk more about it in a minute. I hated Jared Leto in this, probably my least favorite Joker to date. And then the final villain of this movie, which I can't talk about at all until we get to spoilers, was just really bad. So I'll just leave it at that. But, like I said, it's not worst movie ever. There were two things, I guess three things that I thought were really, really good and maybe worth seeing. This was probably my favorite Will Smith performance that I've seen in quite a long time. In fact, if he wasn't as convincing as he was in the role of Deadshot here, I think this would have been a complete bust for me instead of something that just kind of didn't work. Margot Robbie was very entertaining. Her accent kind of was inconsistent, but I'll forgive that because she at least seemed like she was having fun. And then Viola Davis and was awesome all through this. So those three performances really held it up for me. So not a film I'd recommend, not something that I super enjoyed, but I guess if you're a big fan of the comic franchise, you should probably see it anyways because, hell, it's villains taking center stage in a movie, so I guess there's some benefit to seeing that alone. But yeah, the story was bad, really bad.
All right. So this is kind of a pass from Will. So Bill, as our comic book bears
So a mild
podcast
recommend, right,
envoy,
Will? A mild recommend from Will. Is that what
Oh yeah, the movie of the year. Everyone rush out and see it. No, I'll say this is a soft pass.
yeah,
Okay.
soft pass, soft pass.
Okay.
I thought I had captured Will's thought process here, but good to confirm. Bill, so as our comic book bears podcast envoy, why don't you go next and kind of give us your take? I mean, you're wearing the T-shirt, so
I'm wearing the T-shirt. This is kind of a bait and switch. First, I'd like to present some input from my co-host Matt Brossard, who wrote into us while we're recording this, and Matt's words on this film is, "This movie is so awful. I should have assembled a team of mercenaries to see it for me." Okay. Oh, Matt, I love you. There's a concept in comic books of the Marvel zombie, of people who will just devour anything Marvel and kind of have blinders on. I'm as close to a DC zombie as you get. I know a couple other people who were probably worse at, in that bucket, but I'm pretty much anything they put out I read. I'm a DC guy, so I hate saying this. I've been in your show before. I gave a recommendation to Man of Steel with reservations. I gave a recommendation to BVS with reservations. I am not giving a recommendation to this movie, but with reservations, because no. Spend your dollars on Star Trek Beyond or something else, or good documentary. Now, again, with the caveat, knowing that when the Blu-ray comes out for this, I'm going to buy it on the first day just for the extras with the documentaries and stuff. I have the Blu-ray of Jonah Hex. That's how bad it is. Okay, in my world.
You might get a director's cut. Maybe it'll improve it, right?
I think, again, we're not getting into spoilers yet, but I think Will hit it on the head when he talked about how choppy the movie was. One of my biggest problems with Green Lantern, if we can make a comparison, was Green Lantern was clearly a film made by committee, and after a point in this film, you definitely felt that. I thought when we started with the film, when they had those write-ups about the individual characters, with those, about Rick Flag has a 3 handicap in golf, all that stuff, they went by too fast. But I thought, wow, this is a really sweet way of introducing the characters and introducing this tone that even if it is covering dark elements, it can still be fun. And it lost it really quick. Margot Robbie, I thought, was great, but you have to question how much, after a point, they just cut their losses with that and say, at least we can lay the groundwork for a Harley Quinn movie. And I think there were some elements of her story that clearly were that. I totally also will agree with Will about Will Smith. I am not a Will Smith fan, if only for Jaden Smith. The man deserves to go to hell. That's that kid.
That's the quote of the year right there.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And I agree.
Yeah, is there really a more annoying screen presence than Jaden Smith? I really can't think of one. But maybe that was a little too personal. But this movie did show, hey, Will Smith is a movie star. And there were scenes that he was in that, if not for the chops he had, for the very rarefied air that he breathes, with Cruise and Hanks, of these guys that have hung in there and, just have that presence on screen. There were a lot of scenes that he made work despite the script. I thought it was a really good performance by him. I also liked, and again, I'm with you with Viola Davis, I also liked Jay Hernandez as El Diablo. I thought that was the most interesting backstory. And again, going back to the choppy thing, one of his, without giving spoilers, there is the nature of family. And then all of a sudden he views the Suicide Squad as his family. And it felt like there was a half an hour of the movie that we didn't see. And if you looked at some of the original trailers, there were clearly scenes in those trailers that did not make the cut. particularly around the bar scene. There was a lot of dialogue we never saw in the end cut. And I think, again, that's been the most frustrating thing about the DC films is there's so many elements that are blown opportunities. Just think of putting the band together. They didn't have to set up the film where they're going right for a conflict. You could have had a good 15, 20, 25 minutes of them learning how to be a team. And with the talent that they had and the humor that they could have generated then, I mean, that's one of the most frustrating things about the DC films in general is that in every case, none of them are what the films could have been. And we got it again. And I do think, with some of the executive changes with the company, that they are recognizing that they do have to recalibrate. And I think this film didn't benefit from quick thinking about that. It's frustrating because there's this part of me that I love seeing these characters on film. It's just like Guardians of the Galaxy. The version of me that was 20 years ago could never have conceived of a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Suicide Squad or an Ant-Man movie, and we have them. And it just frustrates me that this is the form that we're getting. And also, Jared Leto sucks shit. They basically blew up that character for the franchise unless there's some kind of sensible recasting. He was, I mean, if you're gonna go over the top, don't reel it in at certain points.
They need to. You know what? They blew it up so much. They need to switch to King Tut now.
It was like they were so. It was like they were so afraid to offend that it became offensive, in a sense. There was this homogenation of the darker elements that just, show some balls. And you didn't get them. I want to say the film is necessarily watered down because there are good things about it, and I imagine there are a bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-old guys that are loving the shit out of this movie. And the box office has pretty much proven that point. But, again, another blown opportunity, and it's just frustrating that if you count Green Lantern and separate the Nolan films, we shouldn't be in this position with the characters that have this bright and potent a legacy.
So we've got a soft pass from Will, and we've got a pass with reservations from Bill. Whew, not an auspicious start for this movie. I'll tell you what I think, but in a minute, because we want to catch up with some listener comments real quick. First things first. We got a picture from Paul Alderete, friend of the show, taking a selfie with Bill. Check out.
Oh man, he's my favorite. Check out
all the hotness in that picture. So much. Of it.
Someday, buddy, someday.
He's got you on the big screen.
He does.
Love it.
Love you, Paul.
I look like I'm looking at his chest. That's kind of cool. I like that.
You're like
totally.
He's got a few other pictures that he's going to send us later.
Okay.
That's for
Please, one with ice cream. I love the ice cream shot.
All right, Paul, you heard it. You have gotten a request.
Here it comes.
For a Paul Alderete shirtless ice cream photo. I added that part on myself.
You added the shirtless part.
That's what I do. What can I say?
This request just gets better and better. I'm really okay with this.
We also have another live comment. I'm probably going to butcher his name. Man, James Figueiredo? Is that right?
Oh yeah, he has part of Bear Nerd out of Brazil.
Ah, okay.
Great website.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to check it out. James says, Bill, Suicide Squad can't be worse than BVS. LOL.
Sounds like you guys have a running. Thing
yeah, when we disagree, it's kind of advanced. So, no.
And guys, we have one more from Charlene, who says, I would like to meet it possible my name is Charlene, I am to this address.
Ooh.
That's that's a point I hadn't thought about before.
We'll take it.
It really sheds new light on this movie, the kind of the deeper meanings. Yeah.
I love that the spam bots are even coming out for Suicide Squad. This is great. It's awesome. And you know what? I lied. We have one more comment from Matt Broussard, who says, Will said, can you assemble a second team of mercenaries next time to see it for me as well? Matt says, you provide the organ, I'll take care of the rest.
Can do.
Whoa. All right.
All right. All right. Now we're at MBP after hours.
After dark.
I guess I've stalled enough. I was like, man, if we get enough listener comments, I won't ever have to give my thoughts on this movie. But hey, unfortunately, it's time. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. I think I like this movie better than you guys did. I wouldn't say that I loved this movie. I wouldn't even say that I really liked this movie. I just kind of liked it. It was okay for me. I had some fun with it. A couple things that I want to call out. I did like Margot Robbie a lot as Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is one of my favorite characters from the Batman animated series. But I'm trying to figure out if I'm glad that they toned her down a little or if I'm mad that they toned her down a little. I'm not quite sure where I feel on that yet. Some of the chaotic evilness of her character is kind of missing a bit. But in a way, I almost think it makes her a little bit more of the heart of the team, kind of, where Will Smith is kind of the brain of the team, and I feel like they kind of balance things out a little bit. I enjoyed her a lot in this film. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I love Viola Davis. I really liked her in this role. I do wish Amanda Waller had a little more to do in this movie, and I feel like, I don't know, we can talk more about it in spoilers. Maybe at some point we'll get more Viola Davis awesomeness. But also Will Smith. Will and Bill, you guys have already mentioned that, in a way he kind of carries this movie. I think without him being part of this, I think this maybe would have been a pass for me. I actually found myself really looking forward to his scenes. I'm like, can we get some more Deadshot stuff, please? And Deadshot has never been a character that I have given two shits about. It just haven't. He's never really been that interesting to me. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Deadshot. I want a Deadshot movie. Can we get a Deadshot movie? So I don't know. It kind of worked for me, but it has some problems. Jared Leto. I don't know what they were trying to do with this take on Joker, guys. I just don't get it at all. It didn't work for me. And, a lot of people are saying, oh, you're just hyped up on Heath Ledger Joker. You can't let that go. Well, bitch, please. I liked the Joker way before Heath Ledger ever came on the scene. And I think Ledger did a fantastic job. I love that movie version of Joker. But, there's just a certain... there's just certain elements of the Joker character from the comics and all the animated series and animated movies that I just feel like were totally thrown away here in order to bring in this sort of gangster thug Joker, which I don't know, creatively trying to do something different, take some risks. I applaud that, but man, it just unfortunately did not work for me. The Enchantress character, which we'll talk more about some of these other team members and spoilers probably. A complete waste, totally laughable. Just did not work, and the effects with her magic and stuff were just super cheesy and cheap looking. But that said, I started off saying I kind of like this movie, so I feel like I need to sandwich it with a little bit of positive. Yeah, maybe some things were cut that made it make less sense when all of a sudden there's this whole Vin Diesel, I don't got supervillains, I got family sort of thing, right? But I kind of liked them sort of finding each other, coming together, whatever. I think that there's some potential here for a stronger team, but I feel like this movie kind of suffers from too many characters. You lose track of certain characters. At some points, it's like, wait, how many people are on the team again? Wait, what? No, I thought there was more. Oh, there's that person. Oh, wait, well, that other person's gone now. What's going on? So, I don't know. Maybe if they do another Suicide Squad movie, they could kind of pare it down a little bit more. Maybe make it 4 main characters instead of 12 or something. That could be a little bit better. I also want to...
Then it could be fantastic.
Right. I also want to say
almost was.
it's in the trailer. It's in the trailer, so I feel like it's fair to speak of. I did enjoy some of the Batman elements that were added to this film. In fact, they really fucking see, Bill, I'm cussing. They really fucking make me want this standalone Ben Affleck Batman movie. In fact, some of the just some of the stuff that happens in this film around the Batman character, seeing Batman and the Batmobile, which again in the trailer kind of doing their thing. I don't know if I want a Batman Joker movie because Jared Leto, I'm out. But definitely I'm excited for a Ben Affleck Batman. So Jim, you're shaking your head and rolling your eyes so much. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to you.
I'm just replaying some of the movie in my head.
Okay, all right.
Reacting. Nothing to do with your commentary.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna hand it over to Jim, but not before I say this one's a recommend for me. I think it's fun to go check out while it's in theaters. Be part of the discussion. It's generating a lot of talk. Like today at work. It's all anybody was talking about socially. So, if you're even vaguely interested, I say go check it out. Jim, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping this movie would kind of break the mold of either being, DC gets this bad rap, I think, for being, quote, and I'm quoting other people here, gritty, brooding, joyless, whatever adjective or adverb you want to add there, to their movies versus some of the other superhero movies, but the other ones are always cookie cutter. I mean, they're all kind of the same thing. So I do, like you, Brad. I kind of applaud a movie that wants to try something new, and unfortunately, I just don't think there's enough of it in here that it works. So yeah, this movie didn't do it for me. It'll end up being a pass. And there were some things that I did like about this movie, just not enough to recommend it. Bill, just like you, I was really on board with the first 20 minutes of this movie. You said, even though the title cards and stuff that were being on the screen were going too fast, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I want to watch what's on the screen and read that at the same time, and I got 5 seconds, and oh, shit. And they're on to the next one. I like those vignettes of those characters, those introductions, and I'm like, yeah, even with the cheesy music that wasn't very, it was kind of on the nose and, putting the pop music over it, I dug that. I was on board. I'm like, wow, this really has a feel like Guardians of the Galaxy to me, which is probably one of my favorite, like, superhero movies because it's disconnected. It seems disconnected from the universes, kind of, and it seemed fresh. And I'm like, oh, this movie's trying to do that. That's cool. And then it really went downhill quick when the plot, started to get in. We'll get into elements of the plot. You've already touched on some of them. There were characters that it got confusing, actually. And this is something that a simple popcorn superhero movie should never be. Like, there were moments where I didn't know which side certain characters were on. And that ambiguity can be a character... a part of the movie. It can make the movie more interesting, make the character more interesting. But I think it was just because of the sloppiness and choppiness that you guys mentioned. I wasn't sure of the Viola Davis character for a while. I wasn't sure of the Katana character, like where she fit in. There were characters that were brought in and then dispatched very quickly. So it was but some characters got a really good setup, really good backstory. You mentioned the guy, was it El Diablo?
Yeah.
Got one. I totally second everybody on Will Smith. He carried this movie on his charisma, on his back, or tried to anyway. It wasn't quite successful. I liked him a lot in this movie. He definitely showed that he's worth the money that he gets. And I hope we see more of him in wherever DC goes next. So yeah, I'm not gonna recommend it. Oh boy. Bill, you said that this had a kind of a by committee kind of feel to it. If you ask me, I think Marvel has the same problem as these DC movies, the worst of the DC movies, in that they all feel, to me, made by committee. The difference, though, between the two universes is Marvel's committee seems to speak with more of one tone. You know what I mean? Than the DC ones right now. And I really did want to like this movie. I'm not in one camp or the other. I'm not a zombie for Marvel. I'm not a zombie for DC. I just want to see a good movie. Didn't really get it here. There were some things I liked. We'll talk about when we get there in spoilers. But yeah, pass for me.
All right. So, I never thought I would find myself in the position of being the lone recommend in the sea of you guys. Usually I am like the crankiest person on the Movie Rose podcast, and now
we rotate crankiness, and it's your turn to end up on top. We all have our get off our lawn moments.
I guess I don't know. I left my bitch harness at in the closet today, I guess.
You have no monopoly on negativity.
You're the more quotable bitch, though, I have to say.
Oh?
Out of somebody, I always go back to your I, Frankenstein review about the fucking gargoyles. And I think you're very good at hitting something at its low point. So.
I'm going to admit this movie was not nearly as bad as I, Frankenstein, for me.
Okay.
So that's kind of where to put it.
That is high praise for Suicide Squad right there, I gotta say.
High praise from a low bar. Yeah.
That's right. Well, Bill, I am glad that my negativity kicked something at its lowest point while it's down. It can be entertaining. Oh, goodness. Well, hey, guys, we've got another live comment from my friend Sean Whiting, who says, really digging your Suicide Squad review. Thank you. Sean, I miss you. We need to catch up and chat, but so glad that you're watching and digging the review. And apparently no one else wants to say hi to Sean, which is sad because Sean's a cool guy.
Hi,
Hey,
Sean.
Yeah, well, now it feels forced.
Now it's patronizing.
Setting us up there. Beautiful.
Hi, Sean.
What I do, hey. Anyway, all right. So we've had a chance to kind of give our initial thoughts. I think this is a very logical place to go ahead and just dive into some spoilers. And I see the guys nodding in their little thumbnail video.
Yeah, it's spoiler time.
So I'm gonna take us to Spoiler Town. If you do not want to be spoiled on Suicide Squad, if after hearing Will, Bill, and Jim tell you not to go see this movie, you have decided that you are gonna just listen to spoilers, feel free to hang out. Otherwise, you may want to step away, come back. After you've seen the film. But spoilers are officially fair game. And since Jared Leto as the Joker has been so polarizing, can we talk about that for a minute? Now that we're kind of open. Mm-hmm. So what was it that was so, not worky, technical term, not worky for you guys?
For me, it was, when I think of the Joker, all of the incarnations of the Joker, not just the Heath Ledger one, because you're absolutely right, Brad. I think there are some people that think, you're just comparing it to the Heath Ledger Joker. And in some ways, yeah, I am. The best versions of the Joker for me are the ones that feel effortless. To me, that's the thing about the Joker. Sometimes he's more of a mob boss. Sometimes he's a murderous psychopath. Sometimes he's batshit crazy, and sometimes he's a little bit more calculated, but he always feels very effortless and very comfortable in who he is. And this Joker felt like he was trying really hard to be effortless. This was the most try-hard performance I've seen in some time. I feel like the Oscar committee that gave him something for Dallas Buyers Club needs to revoke this one retroactively, because this was a really fucking bad performance.
I think for me, I never felt threatened by him, in a sense. That there should be not necessarily an authority, but a sense of ownership of his own evil, and you never felt that with this guy. And I mean, I also cannot think of a single scene that he was in that he owned, and the Joker should own every scene he is in. And we never had that. We had distractions. I mean, Common owned the scene he was in more than He didn't have a level of authority. I know that's not the right word, but there just wasn't this forcefulness. I think you said because there was so much effort on him being effortless that the forcefulness that is inherent in that character, no matter what incarnation, going back to Cesar Romero in the '60 series, you can certainly say that hey, he had that character by the balls. It was a comedic take, but he had it, and this guy just didn't have it. I mean, you can throw out all the I mean, some of them have been funny. The descriptions, like disgruntled former Hot Topic cashier. I mean, some of them have been hysterical about it.
Oh my God! Wow.
But I always go back to that thing that if there's a character that has as much gravitas as the historical import of this character does, to not own any scene that he was in, and that's there's some. Someone should have been looking at those dailies and said, "Whoa, this isn't going to play."
So, Jim,
and I know that, yeah.
Jim, you've been kind of quiet. We've all kind of weighed in on.
It's okay.
Leto. So I want to touch base with you real quick. I'm interested to kind of hear your thought process. I mean, how was this version of Joker? Because you're not as tied to it, I think, as we are.
It didn't work for me. I mean, I didn't think much of the Joker character, and I don't know where to put the blame on that. I mean, this key character is created by writing and performance, and it comes together in a characterization of an entity that just didn't feel weighty enough for me. And I can't say I blame it on Leto's performance. I don't know what he had to do with creation of the character per se, other than he portrayed the character. I don't know if him portraying the character better would have made the character better. Does that make? I don't know if that makes sense. But it's just that character, like when, and again, we go back to Heath Ledger, even though my favorite Joker is Cesar Romero. Thanks for mentioning him, Bill. I don't like when Heath Ledger came on the scene as Joker in the Dark Knight, right? Is that the one I'm thinking of? And he was in that room with those gangsters, and he came on the scene. Man, you knew that fucker was like crazy, and he laid down the law in that scene, and that was character. He wasn't really overacting, which this kind of felt like a little bit, like he was trying to squeeze something out of a character that was just never going to get there. So no, I didn't care for the character. Plus, he was nothing really to do with any of what happened in this movie, other than Harley Quinn's backstory. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could have told the same story, and the Joker just could have been the back of somebody's green head. Yeah. And you could have told the exact same story.
Yeah, right.
It's weird. It's almost like the Joker in this movie at the same time had both too much screen time and too little screen time. Mm-hmm. To quantify that, like, he was way too involved in this storyline for it to be interesting, but what he had really carried no meat, carried no worth. So you either need to make a conscious decision in the writing to do something bold with him, or cut him completely and save him for a future standalone Batman movie or the inevitable standalone Harley Quinn movie or something.
Yeah. All I know is, the chit-chat's gonna get you killed.
Well, and the dynamic between him and Harley Quinn was everything we hate in male-female relationships in movies these days. I mean, there was nothing there other than, she was an object for him. He was the sugar daddy for her. Abusive. You know what I mean? An abusive relationship. It was just ugly. The whole thing was just really gross.
Well, but that part's kind of real, though.
Is that
right?
canon?
I mean,
is that canon?
To some degree.
Well, there's an interesting place where the character is right now in that she's been damaged by him so many times that the love has turned to hate, and that would have worked in this movie.
Right.
That really would have worked in this movie.
I didn't go there. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it did. We weren't there at that point.
Yeah, if you're going to tell this story of Harley Quinn, and the story of Harley Quinn almost is like a Stockholm Syndrome love, right? Like, She's in this terribly abusive relationship, but she doesn't see it until I get, modern comics. She's broken free of that. But that's a story. That is something that you can really like sink your teeth into, and they did not sink their teeth into it here. Instead, we just kind of got a shitty relationship, and she just kind of was in it. This would have been great storyline material for her, the same way we had all of the Deadshot and his kid and his redemption arc stuff. We could have dealt here, and we didn't. We just had a lot of flashbacks. This was Flashback Squad. So much backstory.
I don't know. Maybe someday we'll get a Harley Quinn movie where she like moves away to small town USA. What is on your screen there, Jim?
It says hashtag free Harley.
Oh my god. maybe someday she'll get her freedom, but not. Well, I don't know. Maybe is the Joker dead? You guys, we're in spoilers. Is he gone?
No, because he shows up there at the end of the movie. He's the one that rescued her from her cell.
And who cared?
Right? I didn't at all. I didn't at all. I was very disappointed. I was actually hoping that it was going to be someone else in that costume, but no.
There's this thing going on in the comics right now where like, oh, there's like 3 Jokers or something like that. Like that's kind of one of the big things. And it's like this is a perfect opportunity for them just to cut their losses with Jared Leto Joker and move on to Joker number 2 in the DC universe. Like they can steal that from the comic books and just get out of the next one.
Maybe it's Jason Todd Joker and he's going to die and then we get to meet the real Joker.
I don't know. I don't even know who that is.
I don't know.
Oh, that's a whole separate podcast.
Yeah, it is. Hey, all right. So we've spent almost our whole spoiler time talking about Jared Leto. What else do we want to talk about?
I want to talk about the villain here, the Enchantress. The characterization of the Enchantress. God, at the beginning of the movie, I was so confused. Like, oh, they're doing all these character introductions, and then he introduced the Enchantress. And I'm like, oh, great, we're going to have this witch on the team. Next thing I know, she's the main villain of the movie. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't see that coming, but not in a good way. Like it's not like a twist that I go, oh, my God, this is awesome. It was just real confusing, especially because they were bringing in and taking out characters at the same time. Slipknot comes in for like 2 scenes.
Right.
And then, like, boom, they kill him off, like, really easy. Like, oh, yeah, let's escape. Okay, he's dead. And
he had one job, and that was to prove that they could kill the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, right. And then Katana.
He should have shown up wearing a Star Trek red shirt. Like, you knew he was dead from the second he walked on stage or screen.
Yeah, just the whole thing, especially, near the end where she's doing her big villain moment. I actually kind of liked the brother dude, or when that villain when that part of her was first introduced, and he goes walking through the subway, and he's like taking shit out. I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty awesome. And he ends up being her. He should have been the main villain actually, but oh well. Maybe he looked too much like the villain in BVS. I don't know.
The villain of
or the Thor movie.
Yeah.
The villain of this was hard. Go ahead.
In some ways, it almost felt like a film without a villain.
Yeah.
In a sense, because it was just a strange vibe. It was more that they were fighting a situation than an enemy.
You knew there was a villain because there was a laser portal in the sky. We have to have that. We're gonna have a villain, right? You have to have that. Why? What the fuck purpose was that doing?
And also the what the fuck Warner Brothers moment that has to have rain.
Right, of course.
Yeah. There has to be rain in it.
The problem I had with the whole the Enchantress and her brother Incubus and all of that in here. So one of the problems I think with the DC universe.
That you laughed at her at the end.
There was a lot that I laughed at there. The CGI for Incubus was bad for me. Enchantress is like. I guess she looked kind of cool when she was doing like the hunched over thing for me, but when she was just doing the Shakira hips don't lie thing for her magic, like that was a problem for me. Like that wasn't menacing, that was silly.
If I can just interrupt, I really do hope that takes off as a dance craze.
I'm surprised.
I do hope the Enchantress takes off.
Just for you, Bill. I will learn that.
But don't forget, it's not just the like arm and hip movements; it's the bad like dubbing.
And the back thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Magic. But the other thing that I think was a problem for me is I want a DC universe that I'm admittedly more of a Marvel guy, but I'm more of an 80-20 guy who wants the DC movies to step up. Like, I want to enjoy both just as much. I feel like this is still a DC universe that doesn't have any heroic moments, and that's problematic for me. If you look at a Man of Steel, this was a Superman who got a lot of flack for killing everybody and destroying an entire city. Batman v Superman, this was a problem created, yes, by Lex Luthor, but also Superman and Batman added a lot to the problems of the movie. Like, they were a big part of it. And here we've got another film, even the Suicide Squad, who could have come out and like fought like a more convincing villain or something like that. If you really think about it, if Amanda Waller didn't exist, the villain that the Suicide Squad had to fight wouldn't have been a thing. So really, the Suicide Squad created their own problem and then had to fix it.
Right.
This is all of the superheroic stories of the DC universe so far have been us cleaning up our own misses. Like, there hasn't been like that moment of just like, you know, we're going to be heroic, we're going to fix something, even if it's grim or dark or whatever. Like, I don't feel like we've got a world with heroes in it yet. Maybe Justice League and Wonder Woman will fix that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We almost had that with El Diablo, but you don't even see it.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
he was really fucking cool. I didn't mention him in the pre-section. He was really fucking cool, but he was so underdeveloped. Like,
he was the one character in the movie that had a pure heroic moment. Yeah. And you barely see it.
Right.
Oh, wait, and that's where he doesn't want to be violent, but they make him be violent.
Right.
Yeah. I know. I don't know. I guess the arc for these. I mean, we've seen this type of movie before. You guys have seen The Dirty Dozen, I would assume. I mean, this is basically The Dirty Dozen in comic form, right? You take these ragtag, good for nothing. In this case, they're criminals. You put them together on a mission. Initially, their motivation is purely selfish, right? I want to see my daughter. I want to get out of here. I want my thing shortened, and then they're supposed to grow into this more heroic, more noble cause or whatever. I didn't see much of that in this. I'm sorry. I mean, I just didn't get that. They kind of, at the beginning, they were selfish, and at the end, they seemed about the same to me.
Jim, it's because we needed more time for Katana and her soul blade, okay? We can't have everything.
Right.
They should have cut Katana. They should have sliced Katana out of the sky. That's an accident. I love Katana. When I think about comics that I've read that I read DC side, like, I am all about Batgirl, I'm all about Harley Quinn, and I'm all about Deadshot. Like, those are like those characters are in my top 5. Katana's a character who I enjoy from some of the stuff that she did with Outsiders, and then some of the other stuff that she's done. I think she was in Birds of Prey. She didn't really do anything here except for just kind of kick ass with the sword. If you cut her role out of this movie entirely, not a single bit of the plot changes. Like, nothing in the story changes if Katana's gone. What's our name hashtag? Heart in a box.
Heart in a box.
Oh goodness! All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think with both Slipknot and Katana, it felt like, okay, they're in it enough to be an action figure.
Yeah, and
there was almost that feel.
Right, and
Katana
that's
more than Slipknot.
And that's what had me so confused at times, because like Katana would just disappear for large swaths of the action that's going on. It's like, wait a second, where's the badass chick with the sword? Like, if you're gonna have a badass chick with a sword, why isn't she doing something?
I felt that with Boomerang too.
There
were huge sequences where he's just absent.
I want to give the movie. I know we're kind of crapping all over the movie. I want to give the movie some credit. There was a scene in the bar that I thought was really well done. I liked those character moments between them all, and the discussion they were having. I wish they kind of had a similar scene, different than that, where the characters could maybe interact more instead of 20 minutes of fighting off these faceless, slimy alien things, which I didn't even know where the fuck they came from. I'm like, did I just fall asleep? Because these guys are coming out of nowhere. I have no idea. They must have something to do with the villain, but I don't know.
It's magic.
And it was boring. Like, they're just shooting these things and they're dying. It was like The Walking Dead for me. I mean, that's how boring it was. I mean, it was just... I think there was a scene where they actually sliced one of the dude's heads off or whatever.
They do kill a lot of things, and also, like, they only briefly mention it, but, like, those are human beings that have been turned. And I'm not saying that, I mean, these are obviously villains, so I don't necessarily need them, like, you know, breaking down into tears, like, and hysterics at the fact that they're killing these humans, but even just something like, you know, if Deadshot more acknowledged it and was just kind of like, oh, well, that's not what I'm trying to be right now. That's not what my daughter wants.
That's definitely a valid point, but my point was, let's have more character. Let's have more with the characters and less, like, we had that huge scene in the street where they fought off a gazillion of these things. Then they go into some building and they start up all again, like, and it's another big battle of the same wave after wave of these like dark faced villain things, whatever.
Same.
Since you mentioned Walking Dead, I have to say, when they announced this film, I was surprised because I think as a concept, this is a dynamic Suicide Squad that could work really well as episodic television.
Yeah.
And I really wish they did take that, because you could have fleshed out the characters more. And, you know, just from a practical standpoint, if a character is not connecting with the audience, neck bomb. If an actor's asking for too much money, neck bomb. You know, I mean, it seems that this is tailor-made, especially when you do have shows like Walking Dead and some others where no one's safe, and you prove that those shows can last with 1, 2, 3 anchor characters. I think they blew an opportunity there with the franchise in general, because I would have been much more interested in a episodic television version of this property than what is probably going to be a one-off film.
Well, who knows? Maybe that's coming. I mean, we've seen some Suicide Squad stuff on Arrow. I don't know. Maybe if this movie does well enough, you could get your wish. Not with this cast, obviously, but I don't know.
It's almost hard though, because it's like they're in an interesting spot by doing this separate from the TV universe. Because if this does really well, I can see them saying, "Okay, CW universe, you're not allowed to use Sue Squad anymore because we want to focus on the films." And if it doesn't do very well, I can see them saying, "Hey guys, don't use your Suicide Squad anymore because it didn't do very well." So it's almost like just them doing this pretty hurt the chances of us seeing that television version.
Something just hit me like a bolt of lightning. We got to see Flash for like a second in this movie. What did you guys think?
I was cool with that.
It was cool.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a nice little salute to the legacy that it was his proper villain with the hero.
Right. I love Ezra Miller as an actor, and I normally I would say I kind of keep the actors that I love kind of close, and I don't ever want them playing superheroes. But in this case,
Brie Larson.
In this case, I know Brie Larson, Ezra Miller. In this case, I'm kind of excited to maybe see what he does with Flash. I think he could bring a different edge to Flash, and it could be good as opposed to the Joker thing.
Jim, did you like what you saw in the Justice League trailer with him?
Yeah, I did. I kind of did. It was a little. I know they want to like play up the jokiness of it, and it was a little too corny, but it gave me enough hope that they. I guess he's going to be the Deadpool of Justice League. I guess he's going to be the wise. Seems like he's going to be like the wisecracking guy. I guess, right? I mean, I don't see Batman doing that. I don't see Wonder Woman doing much of that. I don't see stoic. Jason Momoa doing that, so it's got to be the Flash.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. Like, I feel like the parts of this movie that did work were the stuff where we got to see the characters interacting and having a little bit of fun with each other. And the thing with you do have a lot of very statuesque characters in the Justice League, and having a character who is just willing to kind of like tease them and fuck with them a little bit and just kind of joke around with them, I think that has the potential to change the dynamic in a very positive way. So I'm all aboard like seeing Ezra Miller. I really loved seeing him in the Captain Boomerang segment here. Yeah, sign me up.
Well, let's hope the committee and the design and the direct by committee or write by committee gets it right for Justice League and for Wonder Woman and
Fingers
whatever's
crossed.
coming.
Yeah. Hey, well, speaking of getting it right, I don't know that I can share this picture on our YouTube. But,
I probably shouldn't.
Paul Durante says the picture, you guys. I don't know if you happen to see it. I've got the vapors right now.
I may have trailed off a little earlier. Yeah, so this is when that picture popped up.
It's not ice cream, though, Bill. It's
legal.
applesauce.
It's
I
legal.
can't see it.
It's legal.
You have to IM me with that. I'm not doing it.
It's legal.
I don't know. It's a little.
He may not want it on YouTube.
I don't know if he does or not. If he was like, yeah, you can share it, I would share it. But Anyway, Bill, it's on a Facebook thread with us, Facebook chat.
Okay.
So see if you can see it there. But hey, let's move on to some plugs, you guys. Are we cool with that? Are we down?
I think we should on this one.
This one's got a burning last comment.
Oh goodness, none from me. Bill, plug whatever you want, but please tell our listeners who no doubt want to hear more amazingness out of you and your cohorts how to find the Comic Book Bears podcast as well.
Okay, well, again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. The Comic Book Bears podcast. We recently celebrated our 100th episode.
Woo!
And
Whoa!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Happy that we reached that milestone. We're kind of retracted a little bit this summer just because it's been so difficult getting everybody together, and that's been a kind of blessing in disguise because we recently we were part of a network, the Earth 2 network, which disbanded. So we have, almost 35, 40 episodes that have just vanished.
Oh.
So we've gradually been putting that in our RSS feed. So we're trying to stay a weekly podcast and give some people that may even not maybe didn't subscribe to Earth 2 and just subscribe to our feed that didn't get the whole picture. So eventually everything's going to be in that feed. So it'd be nice once we get to that complete. And we are going to make some changes to the podcast that we'll be sure to let you guys know about. Good stuff.
Okay.
Good stuff. If I can plug some other stuff, because what the hell, that's what you do. The comic book that I wrote has finally gotten to the hands of backers, Will included, and it's the Crime Fighter Inquiry. And this was written by myself with art by Mark Parman, who people may know from the online comic Grizzly and the Bear Patrol. Been really, really touched by the very positive response to it. We are setting up either an Etsy store or a Zazzle or one of those. So by the end of the month, you can go to crimefighterinquiry.com and you'll be able to purchase both the electronic and the print versions of these.
Oh, great.
Please buy the print versions of these because I've got them in a box here and I really need the space. And if there are any Hollywood movie types out there that are listening, I'm 49 years old and I really want to retire early. So buying the option to this might accelerate that plan. So keep it in mind.
I'd watch that movie.
Oh, good to hear. I already have it cast. Well, we can talk about that. I think I have the best idea for the lead character casting, and we can talk about that later. Also, on top of that, if you want to see me in person and you're in the New York area, FlameCon is in its second year, which is a gay-themed comic and geek culture con. And it's going to be on August 20th and 21st. And on the 20th at 3 p.m. with my friend Chris Cummins, who has been on your show in the past, we're going to be co-hosting a panel with Matthew Waterhouse of Doctor Who fame, interviewing him about his role as Aldrich and all that. So you can see me in person there. And also debuting at FlameCon is going to be an anthology called Gun Controlled, which where all the proceeds are going to go to victims of the Orlando shootings. And I have a piece in there with Morris Eady, who is pretty prominent sticker artist out in Los Angeles, and this is his first sequential comic book work, and we're pretty proud of the story that we have in there. So that's some stuff I have brewing. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. We really do view you as a brother podcast, and I always enjoy this. And I'm still hoping, there's going to be that time where you're going to give me the call up for something that's not comic books. You want to talk documentaries, you want to talk pre-60s movies, I'm there. But I'm always happy to join you for these shows.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're gonna do
We're
gonna do like a pre-movie segment, because a whole show about documentaries, while it might be great for us, our average listener maybe not so much. So we'll take like a big movie that we're gonna talk about, and we're gonna pair it with like maybe our favorite like documentary or something discussion. We'll figure out a tie-in, and we'll have you back, Bill. How's that sound?
Okay, that sounds great.
All right, awesome. What? Why are you guys looking at me like that? It's my responsibility to balance our needs.
Don't sell our listeners too short now.
Because I know I'm a bit of a dictator when it comes to comic book pairs. Does this go up to committee, or is this something Brad can get outvoted?
Yes,
if you guys want to do a full show,
there will be discussions.
We will work it out. We will work it out as a squad.
Okay.
Don't make me trigger the implants in your heads.
Wow.
Anyway, just kidding. All right, Bill. Hey, Bill, definitely we will put some links in our show notes. That way our listeners who are furiously trying to keep up with all the cool ways they could find your show and you will have the ability to check those show notes. And when I say we, I mean Jim, because Jim, you're amazing for doing that.
Send me the links, Bill.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
All right. Awesome. Hey, as plugs go, I want to give a shout out to MBP TV. We unfortunately had some scheduling issues last week. We could not record, but we are going to be recording tomorrow relative to when we're recording tonight, which doesn't help you at all. So anyway, look for an episode of MBP TV coming out this week. We are going to finally be taking a deep dive into Stranger Things from Netflix, which I am so fucking uber excited to talk about. Yeah, I see you guys like doing little Tyrannosaur arms of excitement as I'm mentioning Stranger Things.
We covered on our next show. We didn't care it wasn't a comic book.
Nice. That's awesome.
It was just, we had to talk about it.
I'm going to have to listen. Excited to talk about that. We're also going to discuss the Looking movie, which wraps up HBO's Looking series, which, spoiler alert, was way better than I thought it was going to be. So, Will, I know you had mentioned there was like a screening or something you did not go to, right?
Yeah, the festival committee that I'm part of does a monthly screening fundraiser, and that we had an early screening of Looking, and I didn't go to it. So that's where I'm at on the series.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. Thought it was pretty good. But tune in to the Movie Bears Podcast TV for a more full-on discussion of Stranger Things and Looking coming later this week. Jim, what have you got for plugs?
Oh, okay, I'm going to plug a movie. Earlier in the show, we read off some of our listeners' lists of top movies of the 21st century, and Bill from the Green Screen of Death podcast, along with Adrian, Bill on his list had a movie called Cachet, and it's one of the movies I've been meaning to catch up with because it's from a director that I really like, Michael Haneke, who gave us Amour and both Funny Games movies. The guy, definitely has a style, definitely has a tone to his movies, and I wanted to see. This is a French film. It stars Juliette Binoche, who we saw in the Godzilla 2014 movie, probably, at least at the beginning of that movie. Also in Clouds of Sils Maria and Certified Copy. So this one for you would probably be for you. It's one of these slow burns. It's about a couple and their young son living in a urban area in France. It might be Paris. They become terrorized by a series of surveillance videotapes of them left on their front porch by this invisible and unknown stalker. And the drama is in the husband and wife under the tension of trying to figure out who's doing it and why, and then it all amps up and creates some amazing drama. And one scene in this movie, I will not spoil it at all. I've never had this happen to me, but I'm watching it alone because Brad had to work while I was watching it. That literally made me gasp while watching this movie in my own living room, and that doesn't happen very often. But and it's one of those movies that kind of outwardly appears to be one thing about one thing, but it really is a filmmaker trying to comment on something else. I really love this movie. Cachet, it's one of those like hidden gems. Cachet means hidden in French. So check it out, Cachet by Michael Haneke.
All right, awesome. And Will, you are last in the order. What have you got this week?
Just real quick, Jim, guess what I rewatched about 3 hours ago?
What? Cachet?
Cachet.
Oh, really?
I'm so fucking glad
were you gonna plug it?
No, I had another one that I was gonna plug.
Because I have two too, and I'm saving one for next week.
But I know the exact moment you're talking about. The my moment, like my response was basically like a
yeah, I know.
It's great. But yeah, the one I wanted to do is something that I saw last night. It was a 2.5 hour long movie, which is like it's hard to like. I'm gonna sit through almost 3 hours of the movie, but it's this movie called The Wailing. This is a South Korean horror thriller film by director Na Hong-jin. He's the same guy that did The Yellow Sea, and he did The Chaser, both of which are fantastic if you haven't seen them.
The Chaser?
The Chaser, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, fitting for this show, but not quite like that.
There goes my life story.
At least you didn't say that about the other one, The Yellow Sea.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, yeah, I'm off.
Whatever.
No, so this one's fun. This is about this policeman. He lives in this small village, and like there's all these mysterious killings and these illnesses happening, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. He's not the most he's not the sharpest policeman either. He's a bit inept in a lot of ways. And he ends up having to team up with this kind of mysterious woman who wanders into the village and this shaman to try to stop this threat. This is a fantastic movie. I can think of very few films that had me guessing all the way through. Like, this is the type of film that reveals things kind of in the third act that make things in the second act kind of make sense kind of retroactively. Just like, oh, okay, I understand that now. I loved this movie. It does not hold your hand. It is a challenging film, but gosh, it is so fun. It's a little bit of a horror film, a little bit of a thriller. There's even some really good comedy in this. Like it does a little bit of everything in terms of tone. It's called The Wailing. It's a new movie, but it's on super limited release, so
yeah,
I don't know if it's
coming. It's coming. It's going to be one of these soft art house releases. I think it's coming here to the loft, but it's not here yet.
Yeah, so like look for it. Like honestly, look for it in the theater near you, but realistically, look at it on Amazon when it's like added to the Shudder subscription program in like 3 months.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up for this week. Hey, Bill, just want to give you some major mad love / props / thank yous for being on the show with us this week. It's always a treat to have you hanging out with us. So thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And I want to give mad props / love to our live listeners this week who were commenting in during the show. We love hearing from you guys while we're recording. Thanks so much for dropping us a line. Also to our listeners who gave us their picks for their top films of the 21st century. Again, loved kind of sharing your lists, hearing your thoughts. Good stuff. If you're listening on digital tape delay and you didn't get to comment live with your thoughts on Suicide Squad, you know what? We'd still love to hear them. So feel free to drop us a note on Facebook, Movie Bears Podcast, or Twitter at MB Podcast. Find all of our episodes, including this one, on our website, moviebearspodcast.com, in iTunes, and on Stitcher Radio. Gosh, I'm sure there's like more spiely stuff I should be spieling. But you know what? We're done. We're out.
Yeah.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you later.